Hi, it's Kelly Dix. Today I wanted to talk about seller's disclosures and what they are. First of all, when you're listing a property in the state of Michigan, there's a Seller's Disclosures Act that you need to follow. The seller needs to fill out seller's disclosures about the property. Actually, the owner of the property needs to fill these forms out, and they need to disclose to the best of their knowledge and be honest about the condition of the property. For example, there's some questions in there that says, does the hot water tank work? How does the electrical system work? Does the plumbing work? And you need to answer yes or no, or if you've done repairs, for example, does the roof leak? You could say yes and actually comment in there what repairs you've done, or if you know how old the roof is, or if the basement's ever leaked, or if there's any shared items on your property, or anything actually about the property that the buyer would need to know. And it's important for you to fill these out because when a buyer fills out a purchase agreement, they are obligated to see the actual seller's disclosure statement on your property. If the buyer does not see these seller's disclosures forms, they actually can be released from your contract or your agreement to purchase. So it is very important to have these filled out. You need to initial and sign them. It's usually 2 pages long, and the buyer will need to initial and sign too that they've seen the actual disclosures. Now, the disclosures are required on a residential home between 1 and 4 units. Now, according to the Seller's Disclosure Act, there are some sellers that are exempt from filling the disclosures out. This limits liability for when you're selling the property. So some of the exclusions could be, for example, in a probate court case, in a court case where there's a foreclosure or a bankruptcy, those sellers are excluded from filling out the seller's disclosures. Other exclusions for not filling out the seller's disclosures could also be estate sales, guardianship transfers, conservatorship transfers, and also new construction is exempt from filling out the seller's disclosures. Another exclusion is family transfers. So there are some family members that are excluded in filling this out if there's a transfer of the sale from one family member to another. Another exclusion could be in a divorce case. When there's a property transfer because of divorce, it looks like those disclosures are not needed in that case either. Now, there are some misconceptions where I have seen that landlords think they are excluded from filling those seller's disclosures out. Sometimes I'll see X across the seller's disclosure statement stating that the owner has never lived in the property. Those people are not excluded from the filling out the seller's disclosure forms. And actually, if you are a landlord, you do know some information more than likely about the condition of the property. If a tenant complains to you and says, there's an issue with the plumbing, or the roof is leaking, or something's not working, their odds are that you do know something's wrong with the property. Or maybe you have updated the property and you know the condition or the age of something in the property. You would want to fill those out. Now, when you're on the buyer side and you're looking at properties, sometimes these disclosure forms are available for you even to see when you're looking at properties, or even if you're considering writing an offer on a property. These disclosure forms may be attached to the listing, and you can see items. For example, if you're looking at a property and it looks like something needs repair, you can actually refer to the disclosure statements. Now, from what I understand as well, listening to real estate attorneys speak, this seller's disclosure form often ends up in court if there's a dispute over something that's put on there. So you want to be very careful as a seller that you're filling it out truthfully, and you want to be careful as a buyer that some of the main items in there do have answers on them, because the seller is required to fill out each one of the line items with what they know, so that if you do move in the property afterwards and there is a discrepancy with something they filled out on the seller's disclosures and something that you come to find out is untruthful, you may be able to take them to court. Now, this is a tough battle to fight sometimes because you do have to prove that the seller did know something on there that they've answered untruthful, and you may have to have support for any claims that you got. So just so that you know too, disputes over this seller's disclosure form, that's how important it is, because people do end up in court for misleading somebody by the answers they put on that form or not filling it out at all. Bottom line, the point of my video is if you're a buyer, just know that you have access to seller's disclosure statements. You do want to see them when you're purchasing a property because the seller has to disclose what they know about the property. If you're on the seller side and listing your property for sale, just know that you need to fill those out. There are some exclusions with sellers that are excluded from filling them out, but most people will have to fill them out. So there's my tip of the day. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me. Refer to the Seller's Disclosure Act in detail if you have detailed questions about that. Thanks for your time.